They hate when you elevate. The second of losses, I'm handing them out, yeah, I had to go delegate. It feel like I'm floating, I'm lost in the moment, I swear I could levitate. They never believed that I would really fly, I had to go demonstrate.
ATP, what it do with your boy Clay Moore Rain, back at you guys with another one. Shout out to all my subscribers. If this is your first time tapping into the content, I'm going to encourage you to go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Hit your bell icons as well so you are getting alerts when all this content is dropping. So look, man, tonight's the night, right? I'm watching the fights right now. I just watched Gabrielle Fondora just end this girl early in this fight right now. You know, I think she's becoming undisputed champion tonight. If not a unified, but quite possibly undisputed. I'm kind of thrown off right now because I had something I wanted to talk about, which I'm going to get to. And of course, on the other side of the room, getting ready to see Raymond Moratala and Jesus Perez go ahead and give it up on his top ranked card. Great night of boxing tonight. Floyd Schofield fighting tonight, and a lot on the line for Floyd Schofield, right? Last night, Floyd Schofield had a crazy interview, a great interview, to be honest with you. Shout out to Najee, I want to say, over at Cigar Talk. Interviewed the Schofields last night. You know, of course, Senior's going to be there. Junior doesn't go anywhere without Senior. But ultimately, a great interview, eye-opening to a lot of things going on at 135 pounds. I mean, you guys know Gervonta Tank Davis was bringing up Lamont Roach. I guess still is bringing up Lamont Roach from 130 pounds to fight him. Although that card has been pushed out into a unidentified date, right? Indefinite date. We don't know what that date's going to be. Maybe in January, I guess is what they're looking for. But regardless, Floyd Schofield ranked number 2 in the WBA rankings. And me personally, I'm not scared to tell you it was a fight that I think I would have much rather seen than the Lamont Roach fight. But, you know, things work out the way that they do. But, you know, Najee asked the Schofields about potentially, you know, how close they think they were to an opportunity to fight Tank Davis, being that they were ranked in that WBA ranking. And if you guys are under a rock or something and don't know that Tank is a WBA champion, 135-pound champion. So being that Floyd Schofield sitting there at the number 2 spot, asking them how close they thought they were to an opportunity to do that. And they shared something interesting, right? Senior, as he normally does, right? As he normally does, Senior says something crazy, right? He says, listen, man, we talk to their coaches. They're talking about these guys are heading to 140, right? So not only they're heading to 140, but that Tank Davis, this is what they're saying, right? Now, you can only take it with a grain of salt. You know, some people say that Schofield sometimes can be a little bit, you know, Schofield Sr. could be a little bit preemptive, you know, speak a little bit prematurely on certain things. And you've heard about all the sparring stories and how dangerous he believes that Junior is, and, you know, just a cut from a special cloth coming from another cloth of a fighter. If you've seen one Schofield Sr. Interview, you've heard him all damn near, right? But he always has something unique and specific, he says, in each one that can cause a little controversy. Some people might want to call cap. But ultimately, let's get to it, right? I don't want to beat around the bush. He said Tank Davis was going to move to 140, that the team had plans on him going to 140, and that, in fact, he was going to go ahead and vacate the WBA title, and that they were going to get an opportunity to fight for the title against some undisclosed fighter, right? Now, Najee went and did a little research, pulled up on the rankings, and looks like right below Floyd Schofield on those rankings is Edwin De Los Santos, right? Which is very interesting, right? Because in my opinion, both those fighters would have been great fights for Tank Davis, better than the Lamont Roach fight that was put in front of us, right? But not crying over spilled milk. Well, interesting enough to see that, wondering, is Tank Davis going to really do this? Because if he does this, I think, listen, guys, I'm going to be honest with you. This whole Tank Davis, Amazon Prime, PBC situation, very interesting situation to me. I don't know completely how to read it, you know what I mean? And this is beyond a fight being pushed off of one venue issue to another venue. This has nothing to do with that, right? This is more so, what kind of fights can the PBC actually put together for Tank Davis at 135? He has a big deal with Amazon Prime, right? $200 to $240 million. I mean, I want to say 240 million, but once again, we have no documented like proof or any type of breakdown or understanding of a structure or what kind of deal he actually has. We just have him basically saying in one interview with Cigar Talk as well. Seems like he's always, shout out to Najee, just staying there, always facilitating all the information for us in the space to talk about. He said to Najee that he had a deal that was going to be bigger than Floyd Mayweather's deal, right? Bigger than Floyd Mayweather's deal, which was, I believe, $200 million that Floyd Mayweather had locked down with Showtime at one point in his career. So you got to assume it's over 200. And like I said, the rumor on the street is that it was 240 million, right? So a $240 million deal on a 6 to 7 fight deal. You do the math, it roughly ends up being somewhere between like 25 to 35 million a fight. I don't know. I'm not going to do the math right now, but it's somewhere in that area. And you'd have to believe that Amazon Prime has some sort of like requirement, some way to lock in or give them the best chance to get a certain return on their investment to go ahead and put some money like that up front for Gervonta Tank Davis, give him those guarantees that make it to where he's not going to be getting or sharing on the pay-per-views, and that he's going to just be making a bulk load of money on every fight. Now, did Amazon Prime get behind the idea of him and Lamont Roach fighting in Houston, Texas? What kind of return did they plan on getting at? You guys know I've gone on record and I've said I'm not too sure how successful, how many pay-per-views I would look to see that fight sell, right? Lamont Roach is a great fighter, you know, accredited, accolade. He has a championship. He beat Hector Garcia and became a WBA 130-pound champion. But outside of that, really hasn't accomplished anything great enough or built up any kind of real market value for me to believe that he would garner or pull in that type of attention. Now, Tank Davis on his own, merited in his own, you know, in his own right, is a pay-per-view attraction. We don't need to act delusional about that, but is he enough to carry a card or a fight like that to the point to where it makes it worthwhile for Amazon Prime, a company that's probably more focused on getting a return on investment, right, on the money that they're putting out on as far as guarantees are concerned to Tank Davis? So if I say that to say and bring it full circle to say that I wonder what kind of opportunities outside of Shakur Stevenson, Lomachenko, Vasily Lomachenko, what other fighters in that 135-pound division really bring Tank Davis that dancing partner he needs to get that type of pay-per-view, right? To get those pay-per-view sales that make it make sense for Amazon. Because you got to think, if Amazon is in business with Tank Davis, that they have vested interest in how successful he is. They're not just going to jump aboard anything, right? They're not just going to sit there and let Tank Davis to fight whoever he feels like fighting if it doesn't make sense as far as the return on investment that they're looking at getting. So I said to myself, damn, well, you know, although you have to take it with a grain of salt what the Schofields was saying, it did kind of make sense when you think about it, with all the big fights that are at 140 for Tank Davis, as far as making those big pay-per-views, right? As far as cashing out or helping Amazon to get that return on investment. What kind of fights would Amazon be willing to get? Well, let's look at 140, right? 140 right now. Subriel Matias, right? Liam Power. You got Devin Haney up there, right? You got Richard Hitchinson up there. You obviously have Gary Antoine Russell up there. I'm just going off the top of my head. Now, Teofimo, rumor is vacating supposedly that WBO title, going up to 147. That's another video. We'll talk about that as well. But there are some big fights up there. And then whatever fights he has at 135, as far as a Shakur Stevenson is concerned, as far as potentially a Keyshawn Davis fight is concerned, those guys could come to 140. And obviously Tank could come back to 135 as well if he wanted to. So I don't think it's that far-fetched. You guys let me know what you think in the chat, in the right down there in the comments, what you think about Tank Davis potentially going up to 140. I think it would shut a lot of his critics up. I think it puts him in a position to make some of the biggest competitive fights possible. Amazon would be happy going into a new year with Amazon Prime right now and PBC having such a slow year this year, and them looking to actually show some return on investment, be part of some of the biggest events possible. Isn't it that far-fetched to see Tank Davis go up to 140 pounds and potentially put himself in the conversation to get in some of the biggest fights, most competitive fights? I'm going to tell you, for me, this content creator right here, if Tank Davis were to make a move up to 140 and vacate his WBA title, I think he'd shut me up. I'm not going to lie to you. Now, granted, I'd be a little I would look at the fact that him and Shakur Stevenson to get a chance to fight before he left that division. I'd feel a little bit of FOMO there. There is a little FOMO there. You want to see that fight. That is the best fight that can be made. But look, guys, Shakur can come up to 140. He can come up to 140. He was willing to come up to 140, supposedly, to fight Ryan Garcia, right? That's what Shakur was saying. So go up there to fight Tank Davis. I don't think that's far-fetched at all. And it would make 135 a little bit more interesting now, right? Just a little bit more interesting. I know it sounds crazy for me to say that, like, you take Tank out of there. How much? But look, you got a lot of fights that could be made up there as well. Floyd Schofield, Abdullah Mason, Keyshawn Davis, right? Shakur Stevenson. You got a lot of fighters down there. They can mix it up down there and make some things happen, but everybody wants to see Tank Davis be challenged. Everybody want to see him in a fight that, let's be honest. Well, who's going to fight Tank Davis and give us a 50-50 fight? Most people think that Tank Davis, skill-wise, is up there to the point to was, Shakur Stevenson, Devin, Teofimo. I mean, there's a couple of fighters out there you think is going to be competitive with, but at 135, how many competitive fights are really down there for him? It's really Shakur Stevenson. Lomachenko seems like he's not interested in making the fight happen. Dennis Berinchenko's not interested. That's just a fight for the belt. And of course, I would love to see Tank Chase undisputed as well, but he's down to his last couple of fights on a big deal with Amazon Prime. He says after this deal, he may be retiring. These last couple of fights he has are going to be very, very important, right? Very important fights. But I digress, right? This video is not just about Tank Davis and what he might be doing, but also Floyd Schofield saying, listen, he's in position right now and ready to go and chase gold, right? Even calling out the likes of Shakur Stevenson, saying that, it seems like the Schofields really hang their hats on sparring matches that they have with a lot of fighters that are in the division, and always referencing and asking journalists or content creators to go ahead and ask Shakur, right? Ask all these different fighters that they fought against what kind of heat, what kind of problems that he brought to the ring. Kind of like Martin McCauley a little bit, right? Martin McCauley in the heavyweight division. If you guys don't know about Martin McCauley, go ahead and check out Riyadh Season and see what he did to Jared Anderson. But Martin McCauley had a history of giving a lot of heavyweights great work in the gym. And hence, a lot of people thought that people were ducking him because of what they knew he could do based on sparring, right? And the Schofields seem like they want to push the same narrative, right? Like based off of sparring and things of that nature, that a lot of fighters just don't want to get in the ring with Floyd Schofield, right? So look, we don't know how true the story is, but me personally, I'm always a kind of boxing fan that likes a fighter who talks it up a little bit, as long as they're willing to back it up in the ring or try to back it up, right? I don't mind at all, but I like a fighter who talks it up. You just want to see a fighter like that get in the ring with the best because they're motivated. And, two motivated fighters in the ring give us the best, the best fights, the best entertainment from a boxing fan point of view. But by any means necessary, calling out Shakur. Shakur came up on the show, confront him a little bit, let him know, listen, we can make that fight happen, but you don't need to lie. Obviously, Shakur has a different perspective on how their sparring session went. But Floyd Schofield Jr. fighting this evening, a fight where he's supposed to dominate, make a big name for himself. And he's saying that he believes his next fight is going to be potentially for a vacant WBA title, if not a vacant WBA title, looking to push and become somebody's mandatory. Shakur Stevenson said he'd be willing to fight them as long as the availability was there. We know Shakur is recovering from a hand injury, as well as planned on fighting William Zepeda sometime in February, courtesy of Turkey with Riyadh Season. So we got to see how all this plans out, right? But a lot of information in a little bit of time here. I don't want to, overload you guys, but Tank Davis looks like, according to Schofields, they're expecting him to vacate the WBA 135-pound title to go up to 140 pounds, right? And once again, we don't know how true this is. This is Schofields doing what the Schofields do, specifically Floyd Schofield Sr., right? We know how that goes, believable sometimes, but sometimes you got to take it with a grain of salt because a lot of it has more to do with what Tank actually plans on doing. And, I don't know if the Tank team, if the coaches are in communication with Floyd Schofield Sr. to the point to where they're actually letting him know what he's going to do to the point where, he can count on it. After all, they are potential opponents to each other, right? Let's be honest. They're both in 135 pounds. Clearly, Floyd Schofield Jr. looking for an opportunity. So is the Tank Davis team really going to be that transparent with them without being transparent to the space? You could take that however you want to take it, right? Take that for whatever it is. But I thought it would be interesting. It would be real interesting to see Tank Davis make that move to 140. I know a lot of content creators will push back at this idea, saying, there he goes again, trying to push Tank Davis to 140. But listen, you got a lot of fans out there who are interested in seeing something like that, right? Obviously, the Tank fans and the supporters are going to look at it like, why should Tank take this disadvantage by being a smaller guy going up to the bigger division? But I think people who want to see Tank push to his potential want to see him against the best competition possible. We've seen him up there with Mario Barrios, obviously, who was a big 140 pounder. Right now, the WBC 147 pound champion. A lot of us would love to see him up there, right? Not so he can lose, but to see him be competitive, see a little danger in the ring, see him have to figure out some conundrums, right? Some real big problems. See him figure it out and show the world how great he can be. I always tell you guys, Calvin Ford said, listen, man, I'm looking for somebody who can push the button for Tank when they push. You guys have not seen how talented he is. So we need that right dancing partner in the ring with Tank Davis to really see him push to his potential. So I think it's a great idea for that to happen. As far as Floyd Schofield is concerned, let's see how he does tonight. You guys let me know what you think in the comments. I know most of you guys are going to be like, Schofield is capping. How much is he capping? At the end of the day, he's a fighter, right? And it's only right that a fighter believe in themselves to the point to where they're willing to push the limits, show the world what they can do. And you know, as fans, we want to see him do that all day long, right? So what do you guys think of Floyd Schofield? He seems to be chasing gold by any means necessary. He wants that belt that Tank has. He wanted to fight Tank, but if Tank does make that move up to 140 pounds, who does he fight as well for that vacated belt? I think Najee pulled up Edwin De Los Santos as a fight, right? So I think that would be a great fight as well. Or maybe even he can schedule himself to get a title fight with Shakur Stevenson. Obviously betting on the fact that Shakur Stevenson beats William Zepeda. And that's going to be a competitive fight within itself. That's not a guaranteed win for Shakur Stevenson. So you guys let me know what you think about the interview. What do you think about what we're talking about right now? What does Floyd Schofield do next? What does Shakur Stevenson and what does, more importantly, Gervonta Tank Davis, right, with his Amazon Prime deal? Does this make sense, you guys? What do you guys think about him going to 140? Let me know what you think in the comments. Shout out to my subscribers again, man. Man, salute to you guys. Appreciate you guys always supporting the channel, man, making this channel bigger and bigger every time. We're growing slow, but we're going for sure, and I appreciate you guys. If this is your first time tapping into the content, I'm going to invite you to go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit your bell icons as well, so you are getting alerts when all this content is dropping. And you know how we carry it. But at this point, we out.